Teaching beginners is one of the most demanding jobs of all piano teaching. Not only is it a responsibility, but it also is an important process for whether it's a young student or an older student to start understanding music, and it's the way in for them to play very well. Some students will take it very seriously, others just want to learn for a short amount of time, but whatever, irrespective of that, one has to be really careful with how one teaches at the very outset of learning or the learning process. There are many different types of beginners. Young beginners, age 6 and under, small children, you've got older children, teenagers and adult players or adult learners as well. And each one needs a quite different approach. In my last video, I spoke about the young child beginner in reference to my series here, First Repertoire for Little Pianists, which is published by Willis Music. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the older learner, which is more in line with what I've been teaching over the past few years. So maybe 12 years and upwards, going up to adults. When teaching beginners, there are generally two aspects that we have to be very careful how we teach. One is notation and the other is rhythm. Some like to teach them at the same time, but for me personally, I like to separate them out so that you look at one on its own and then the other on its own. And then once those have been digested and understood, then you can start combining them together. And both of these particular elements I look in quite a bit of detail in my prep book, which is part of the Play It Again piano series for the adult returner or the adult learner. In this book we go from late beginner to grade 1, and I deal quite a lot with notation and rhythm. So when we're reading notation or when we're learning to read the notes, often in a method book, especially a children's method book, we might only learn 2 or 3 notes a lesson or 1 or 2 notes on its own, which can be a little bit limiting, especially for the older learner. So I like to teach them all together. I'll have a stave printed out, and then I'll write notes in from the lower F in the left hand here to the upper G, which is octave and half above middle C in the right hand here. So that's all the main notes on the main stave, and we'll deal with the ledger lines later. And once they can see the pattern and they have this graph, as it were, as a reference, then we will start doing little exercises every week, similar to the one we're showing here now, which is again in the prep book, where you would mix up all the notes, have them in different parts of the stave, and then expect the student to name the alphabetical name and then immediately find it on the piano, because it's a kind of two-step process really. One must know the alphabetical name, but it's very much easier if you just know where the note is on the stave and then find it on the instrument. Once we've done this, maybe for a term and a half, depending on the student, they're usually quite fluent with finding the notes in this quite large area within the stave. And this makes learning that much quicker. And they also don't panic either if they see notes that maybe aren't in their piece or aren't in the area of the method book that they're learning from, because they've seen the bigger picture. So that's really important, I think, with notation. Then, of course, there's rhythm, which is the other large element for the beginner. And to start with, we'll just work at finding and maintaining a pulse, clapping along, tapping along. We do that together. And we might do it I like to do it to a metronome, but if students don't like this, we might do it to a piece of pop or rock music, or we would just count so that we're finding this regular pulse. Once we've done that, then we will start subdividing the beat and adding the rhythmic values into the equation. We'd start tapping, so we would tap the top line of a graph with the right hand and the bottom line with the left hand, as shown here in this example, which again is from the Play It Again prep book. And once the student's done this regularly, they start to get the idea of the different rhythmic pulses, how they relate together, the rhythmic values, and the rhythm doesn't become so, it becomes an easier thing to understand. It's not so frightening or scary. So once these two elements are understood, then we would put it together and start working at them within pieces of music. And it's much easier to do it this way, to take them out of context and learn this way, because it gives a student confidence, and this is what we want to develop when we're teaching beginners.